Check this out. I wrote this. I gotta get organized. How do I structure my life in a way where I can write 6 or 7 pages per day effortlessly? It is a challenge to which I have to master, and I think I could do it. Were the last thoughts of His Majesty right before he went into his deep meditative state. His worries were replaced by a sudden jolt of flow that could not be stopped. But where was it coming from? A question would arrive to no avail. It didn't matter, so long as the flow kept pouring and the pages kept growing. How many words were brimming to be exposed, desperately waiting to be enumerated to a hefty measure that could be amounted to something valuable like a pouch full of gold coins, resting at the waist concealed by the user's wardrobe. He pushes aside the thought as the stroke to his pen moves swifter throughout the lines placed adjacent to his scribes in a parallel format, writing from left to right in cursive as if to preserve with crypticness his encryption of revelation passed down to him by some heavenly source not quite understood by anyone alive. Yet the proof of his existence was now self-evident in the etchings displayed by his grace, and the once blank pages now turned to prophetic statements meant to be manifested and fulfilled. The traces of his remnants are carefully studied, softly touching the pages with caress, as if to not cause too much strain or harm, as a reader turns the page to learn of what comes next. Looking forward with anticipation and excitement to read the incoming messages, there it was, from the depths of nothingness to the place where one can actually see and read. A world formulated from the desire to want to achieve a new feat, which was to somehow complete 6 or 7 pages per day. Without explaining the sudden interest or how such an idea has come to the forefront of his whole behavior, with none to spare, he went with no pause or breaks and drove the whole ride with no lack. One thing led to the other. Suddenly one was now facing the reality of a complete partial manuscript to a larger novel that was suddenly in my hands. And as it proved to be done with no real effort, just real talent and skills on the author's part, the basis of multiple sequels were appearing before the reader's eyes. All this was being conjured up, absent of his awareness, as he situated in a meditative state without moving for what seemed like days, when it was just moments that passed. Unflinching and unapologetic, the words were permeated throughout the space that was once unimagined and unseen. As his lordship awoke from his deep emptiness of tranquility, slowly raising his eyelids to a complete visual sightings, becoming cognizant of what's happening around him. Not surprised, as if this has happened before, he looks at what's been transcribed from the depths of his mind, as he witnesses the testimony of what has transpired. This is amazing, he thinks to himself, as he continues to peruse the new fuel with an excitement to keep him motivated and inspired to keep going. Can't wait to get this published and in the hands of the masses, he thinks to himself as he continues glued to what the pages reveal. Going over the details to himself, he notices an opportunity while discussing his logic over the mathematics. This is where he leaves his imprint recorded on the pages of history, sort of like a signature left at the end of an important document, displaying the time and date to show off its proof. This is true, he says to himself as he carefully places the newfound evidence on the table. I must continue this practice and see where it takes me. Time took place and filled the spaces between the words where the magic happened. While the world anticipated for the words, I looked forward to the emptiness made visible through the distance that separated each letter. The grooves to the cursive structuring give it a certain calligraphy appearance. So elegant yet sophisticated and calculated, determined to show its prominence amongst the other imitators. It was not just about the words you had to think about, but the ones you couldn't see that was written all over the pages, plain to see yet not visible to read. Another layer is detected as you graduated to a more luminary position. Suddenly you're reading another book, which is read by any who dares, but only few see the second book reveal itself within the first. How can they read the same book as I and not see the hidden layer? I wondered for a second before moving on to the next. What is it about a certain eye that can see the invisible layer that most have no idea exists, and that makes the seer righteous and appealing to those that have no sight? It is the gnosis that's generated from within that attracts those without it to come closer to he or she who has the gnosis. Unbeknownst to them, like any other system, they fall into the role of a sophisticated machine, operating like a computer. And under this simulation they call reality, only a few opt out into the real world like Neo does in the movie Matrix. As one operates from the real world, one learns to see what is useful and what is not in life, and learns to capitalize on the opportunity when the opportunity arrives. Discarding the parts that one knows without a doubt will cripple and barricade the truth from playing out. One practices till one has mastered all his movements in a way that helps produce the most effect without little effort, with as little effort as possible. This is done so that people fear the one who shows effort as much as possible with no procrastination.